The summer evening was still young when I turned the corner of our quiet suburban street. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, a perfect backdrop for the moment I'd been waiting for. I wasn't supposed to be home until next week. My work trip had ended early, and I had decided to surprise my wife and kids. I imagined their smiles, the laughter, the joy of me walking through that front door unannounced. But what I didn't imagine was Karen. Karen was the self-proclaimed watchdog of the neighborhood. Everyone knew her. Everyone feared her. And everyone avoided her. She was the type who peeked through blinds for hours, ready to report anything she found suspicious. And tonight, that suspicious thing was me. As I rolled my suitcase up the driveway, I heard a shrill voice behind me. "Excuse me. What do you think you're doing?" I froze for a moment, confused. Turning around, I saw Karen standing on the sidewalk, phone already in her hand, eyes narrowed like a hawk. "Going inside my house?" I replied, baffled. "Don't play smart with me," she snapped. "The Johnsons are out of town. I saw them leave. I know they rented this house, and you, sir, are trespassing." I laughed awkwardly, thinking surely she was joking. "Karen, I live here. This is my house. I'm just back early." But she wasn't joking. Her thumb hovered over her phone, and then, with a triumphant glare, she pressed it to her ear. "Yes, hello, police? There's a man breaking into the Johnsons' residence right now. Yes, 45 Elm Street. Please hurry, he's dragging a suitcase. He looks dangerous." Her voice carried across the entire street. Curtains shifted in nearby houses. Neighbors peeked out, whispering. Within seconds, I went from family man coming home early to criminal suspect. I hurried to the door, fumbling with my keys, but before I could even unlock it, Karen stormed forward. "Stop right there!" she barked. "The Johnsons left me in charge while they're away. And you are not welcome here. In fact..." She snatched the keys from my hand with surprising speed. "Hey! What are you doing? Those are my keys!" I shouted. "Not anymore," she sneered. "I saw them leave. They told me no one would be back until next week. Which means you don't belong here. You're trespassing, and I'm evicting you." I was stunned. Evicting me? From my own home? Before I could react, she shoved my suitcase down the steps and slammed the door shut, locking me outside my own house. Minutes later, flashing red and blue lights lit up the street. 2 officers stepped out, hands resting cautiously on their belts. Karen ran to greet them like a hero returning from battle. "That's him," she shouted, pointing at me. "That's the intruder. He was trying to break into the Johnsons' house with a fake story." One officer approached me, his tone cautious but calm. "Sir, can we see some ID?" "Yes, of course," I said quickly, pulling out my wallet. "Look, driver's license. Address matches. This is my home." They studied it carefully. One officer raised an eyebrow at Karen. "Ma'am, his ID shows he lives here." Karen's face twisted in defiance. "No! That can't be right. I watched the Johnsons leave. He must have forged that ID. Arrest him before he causes any harm." The officers exchanged glances. Something wasn't adding up. "Sir, do you have proof of residence? Bills? Lease documents?" "Yes, inside the house," I said, my voice rising. "But..." I gestured at the locked door. She threw me out. "With my own keys. Everything's inside." The officers turned to Karen. "Ma'am, did you take his keys?" Her jaw tightened. She clutched her handbag closer. "No. Absolutely not. He never had keys. I stopped him before he could break in." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My whole life was inside that house. My family photos, my work laptop, my kids' toys, and this woman had just thrown me out like a criminal. By now, neighbors had gathered, forming a small crowd. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Isn't that Mark? I thought he lived there," one murmured. "Karen said he's an intruder," another replied. "Maybe he forged everything." The weight of suspicion pressed down on me. My palms were sweaty, my chest tight. I turned back to the officers. Please, just let me in. I can show you family photos, bills, documents. My wife and kids will confirm everything. Before either officer could respond, headlights washed over us. A black SUV rolled into the driveway. The engine cut, the driver's door opened, and someone stepped out. Karen's smug expression faltered instantly. The crowd's whispers died down. The officers straightened, their hands falling away from their belts. Because the person stepping out was someone Karen never expected to see. The SUV door opened slowly, and out stepped my wife. Her hair was tied back in a loose bun, her expression tired but calm. In the back seat, I could see my 2 kids staring wide-eyed through the window. The moment my wife appeared, the entire crowd gasped. Karen's mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Mark?" my wife called, hurrying toward me. "You're back early." I almost collapsed with relief. "Yeah, surprise." The officers stepped back, confusion flickering across their faces. My wife wrapped her arms around me tightly, then looked at the officers. "What's going on here?" Karen tried to speak first. "Don't listen to him. He's an intruder. The Johnsons are out of town and—" But my wife cut her off, her voice sharp. "We're the Johnsons. This is our home. And that's my husband." The silence that followed was deafening. Neighbors stared. The officers exchanged a look, and one of them turned slowly toward Karen. "Ma'am," the officer said carefully, "is there a reason you reported the actual homeowner as a trespasser?" Karen stammered, her confidence evaporating. I thought. I saw them leave earlier this week. I assumed. I was just protecting the neighborhood. By stealing my husband's keys and throwing him out of his own house," my wife snapped. The officer's tone hardened. "Ma'am, you admitted to removing him from his property under false pretenses. That's unlawful. And making a false police report is a serious matter." Karen's face went pale. She looked around desperately for support, but the crowd that once nodded along with her now shifted uncomfortably. Some whispered, others shook their heads. I finally spoke, my voice heavy with anger. "Do you have any idea what you just put me through? You humiliated me in front of the entire neighborhood. You put my family at risk. And for what? Because you assumed you knew better?" Karen opened her mouth, but no excuse came out. Her bravado had completely drained. My wife pulled out her own set of keys and unlocked the door. I stepped inside, finally breathing again as the familiar scent of home wrapped around me. The kids ran up, clinging to my legs, giggling with excitement at my early return. For a brief moment, the chaos outside melted away. But it wasn't over yet. The officers followed Karen to the sidewalk. "Ma'am, you'll need to come with us to give a full statement. Filing a false police report isn't something we can overlook." Karen panicked. "Wait, no. This is a misunderstanding. I was only doing my duty as neighborhood watch. Your duty doesn't include stealing keys and forcibly evicting homeowners," the officer replied coldly. "You crossed a line." The neighbors murmured louder now. Some shook their heads in disbelief, others laughed under their breath. Karen, the self-proclaimed guardian of the street, had finally been exposed. Karen tried one last time to save herself. "But I thought I saw them leave earlier. I thought—" The second officer interrupted. "That's the problem, ma'am. You thought, but you didn't check. And you certainly didn't have the right to throw someone out of their own house." Her shoulders slumped in defeat as the officers led her to the squad car. The sight of Karen being escorted away was something the neighborhood would talk about for years. When the crowd dispersed, my wife closed the door behind us. She let out a long sigh and looked at me. "Well, that's Karen for you." I laughed weakly, shaking my head. "I should have expected something like this. But getting evicted from my own house? That's a new low." The kids tugged at my arms, their eyes bright. "Daddy! You're home early." I knelt down, hugging them tightly. "Yeah, I am. And nothing's ever going to keep me away from you." Later that night, after the kids were asleep, my wife and I sat together on the couch. The events of the evening replayed in my mind. The embarrassment. The anger. The relief. "Do you think she'll actually face charges?" I asked quietly. "Probably," my wife said. "But even if she doesn't, she'll never live this down. The whole neighborhood saw what happened. Her reputation is done." I nodded slowly, taking comfort in that thought. For years, Karen had been the self-appointed authority, watching, judging, interfering. But this time, she'd gone too far. She had called the cops on the very person who lived there. She had thrown me out of my own house. And in the end, she was the one exposed. As I sat there with my wife, holding her hand, I realized something. Karen's downfall wasn't just about me. It was about the entire neighborhood finally seeing the truth. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like home was truly ours again.